Thank you all for coming to Effective Communication 101. We're going to be working through this together. These sessions are super practical, where the point is that for you to learn some key strategies to help you be successful in your student organizations, or even just throughout your college journey. How do you be intentional about the relationships that you're going to build so that you can be effective in everything that you do, and proactive in taking the initiative to build relationships and be proactive in your communication is a really big part of that. So next, for our agenda today, what we're going to talk about is the purpose of this training is to help you successfully navigate student organizations, campus administrators, and students campus-wide by channeling effective communication strategies. So first, we're going to define communication methods and when it's most appropriate to use them. Next, we'll organize your organization with effective communication strategies, like how is it outlined the way that you're supposed to operate in your organizations. Next, we're going to talk about connecting with your campus and other student organizations to garner that support. And then lastly, we'll talk about why it's so important to build strong relationships with the university administrators, faculty, and staff in order for you to truly be successful in what you're trying to do. So let's talk about communication methods. So first, email. Let's talk about email. So when is it most appropriate to use email? First and foremost, a recap of your meetings. And some key things they should be recapping is next steps, promises that were made by key delegates or people in various positions, connect/inform with other constituents. So a lot of times the things that you do in a student org is going to depend upon the other people in those key positions, things that they get done in order for you to get your job done. So we need to make assignments for each team member clear in every single one of those meetings. The next area for email is when you make official requests. What's most important for putting this in emails, because you want to include all the details and you want to show a record that, hey, we officially requested this on behalf of the Student Government Association and we're waiting for a response. This is how you hold the university accountable. And then lastly, to request meetings, whether you send a calendar invite or you're supposed to be meeting with the provost about something and you followed up and say, hey, I haven't received a response yet. So receipts are emails. Next, phone calls. So when is it most appropriate to use a phone call? Anytime you're having a sensitive discussion, like a crisis has occurred on campus, there's a rumor going around, you can take notes, but sometimes when situations happen, you may not want things in writing. So don't text them, don't email them, pick up the phone and call them and figure out what's going on. Same thing with administrators or when you're dealing with confidential information, period. Also, you want to ask the person, how do they prefer communication? So if they say, hey, I prefer you just pick up the phone and call me or leave a voicemail, then make sure you do that with that particular person so you can get the information that you need. Next, sometimes you need a courtesy call before written communication. So say you're following up with an administrator, call them and say, hey, I've tried to reach out to you via email. I will follow up again with you via email, but I just wanted to try to give you a call. This is a way, just a courtesy call to kind of help smooth things over when you do have to hold people accountable. Another reason why you want to give someone a phone call is to prevent miscommunication. And just know, and some of our staff at our HBCUs, they're older adults. So sometimes the most efficient way to get in contact with them is to give them a phone call. So next, let's talk about text/group me, because we use text and group me a lot and we're not getting things done. Because text and group me should be used for informal communication when it comes to student orgs. So when you really need to get the attention of everyone, your email, phone call, or group meetings is going to be the most efficient. Next, let's look at group meetings. So this is going to be most important. Ongoing organizational meetings. Everyone should be looking at the frequency in which your organization meets. Just because historically in your constitution and your bylaws, you only meet once a month, the likelihood that you can get any real work done in one meeting per month is putting a lot of unnecessary pressure on you and your organization and your team members. You're probably going to have to increase your meeting frequency. This is one of my expert areas in terms of organizational effectiveness. What organizational effectiveness means is how good are you operating the basic components of your organization to be successful. Next is event planning. So anytime you need to do event planning, that needs to be a group meeting. Also, if there's any type of upcoming university related events, or the organization as a whole or a good part of the organization must be present and or participate, you all need to have a group meeting to plan out what that's going to look like. And then lastly, similar upcoming week of events. So if you got like for AKA, we usually do breast cancer week or whatever the case may be, you may have had that strategy meeting where you talk about what you're going to do that entire week, and you may talk about it in your organizational meeting, but that committee needs to have a specific meeting just talking about that event, those week of events leading up to that week, to make sure that it's truly a success and to also check in. So all of these key areas right here are group meetings compared to email, text, or a phone call. So those are our main communication methods. And next, let's talk about organizing your team. So when I talk about strategic planning at the beginning of the semester, these are some things that I'm talking about. And we've done these workshops on campus, and I guarantee you this is not as straightforward as you may think it is. First and foremost, to organize your team, define roles and goals clearly. You got SGA president, you got senators, you got assistant VPs. You may have a combination of like 10 or 15 people in your organization that have titles. If you go down that list and ask everybody to explain what their responsibility is in your student organization, I guarantee you probably at least 50% cannot respond. So everybody needs to understand what their role is and define it clearly and what their goals will be that year for their particular position. Then, as an organization, one of the primary ways to have effective communication in your student org is define how you're going to communicate primarily and what is the deadline for people to respond, and make sure that people have their group meeting notifications on or their text group notifications on, and understand how frequently we're going to be communicating. Just put accountability on people to make sure that they meet these goals. Follow-up meetings with notes from each meeting that outline clear commitments for each individual and set deadlines. And you have to make sure somebody is going to hold people accountable. So the last one is, you can do 1, 2, and 3 perfectly. But if you don't have someone who's following up, who's going to be that person that's a good mediator, who helps bring everybody together, who can get you together in the nicest way possible? If that's your unique skill set, you're the person who should be holding people accountable. You're the person who should be getting your committees together. So let's also think about those key skills for people who should be in this type of role from an accountability standpoint. So next, let's talk about connecting with the campus and student orgs. This is extremely important. We have to create a culture of support on campus, and you can't do it working in silo as one student org. You have to connect with other student orgs. So first, let's talk about nurturing. Nurture a team-oriented environment with students and organizations. And your primary purpose is gaining allies to help promote and spread awareness about your events that you're having on campus. So you can already get your wheels turning, but when you have events or you're trying to get the word out on campus about something, you're immediately connecting with them. They're a part of your promotion and your marketing. They're also a part of the people that you want to show up at your events, because now they're also going to help promote what you're doing and spread awareness. That's the only way you're going to be successful connecting with the campus as a whole, compared to always having the same 20 people showing up at your events. Next, be intentional about engaging the student body and be consistent. Use various communication channels. Just posting it on social media or just posting a flyer in the same dorms or the auditorium is not going to work. You have to be intentional about engaging the student body every so often. So it can be every week or every 2 weeks, engaging the student body. You may not even necessarily be having an event, but one of the reasons why you want to stay connected to the student body is so when you do have an event or you do have something going on, they're already connected to you. And then network. Network with the students and ask their opinions. Please don't think you know everything that the students want or all the type of events that they want to attend. Make sure you all are randomly on campus or in the CAF networking, and just so happily ask them their opinion. Like, what do you think we should do on campus about this? Or what are some more events that we can have in the CAF that's convenient to everybody when we know people don't have class that could really benefit them? Even if it doesn't necessarily turn out how exactly they gave it to you, they appreciate that you want to hear their voice and understand what they want. So next we're going to talk about, and this is really, really key, build relationships with administrators, faculty, and staff. So first, let's establish a relationship and discuss expectations. So as a student org, you already have relationships with your advisor, for instance, but also when it comes to like student activities and programming, you should be connecting with those administrators as well. Also, a lot of faculty are really good key people that you should have relationships with, because with the faculty, most of them are advisors for other student organizations as well. So if you're talking about staying connected and promoting your events to other student orgs, a good way to also do that is through their advisors. Number two, determine the chain of command and be honest and respectful. So it's one thing if you go to your advisor, but if you go over your advisor's head and you don't let them know, like, hey, I've been trying to reach you, so next I went to the provost or whatever the case may be, you may receive some backlash for that. But as student leaders, I guarantee you there are going to be many times where you probably need to go over the head of whoever you're directly working with, because they're not getting you the resources or the response that you need. So you're respecting the chain of command, you're being honest, and you're also getting done what it is that you need to get done, which is reaching out to the next person. Lastly, let's make sure that you ask questions that give you the tools / resources / connections you need to navigate the university's processes. How many of you have tried to do something on campus and basically got a hard stop because you couldn't find the person you needed to get in contact with? You couldn't get the resources for the technology you needed in the room. So those key relationships are so critical for you to be successful, not only in your student orgs, but also throughout your college journey as well, whether it be getting access to money, whether it be career opportunities, whether it be internships. Like, a lot of that comes from the connections that you have. And every single day that you're on campus, you're connected, you have the opportunity to connect with administrators, faculty, and staff. All you have to do is take advantage of it, but be intentional about those relationships. So 101, this was us just identifying those communication methods when they're most appropriate, being intentional about communicating campus-wide and why it's important to nurture that environment of supporting other student orgs, connecting with other student orgs, and then lastly, the importance of building communications.